ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Let's Play Warframe. I'm your host of the most, as always, Francois878, and today we are going to be taking a look at the Tenora rifle. This new rifle was introduced in Update 20, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It is currently available in the Clan Dojo from the Tenno Labs. And honestly, when I first saw this rifle and its stats, I was thinking, oh, well, this is just a side grade to the Soma Prime with a novelty secondary fire, so that so that people don't say, oh, this is just a copy of the Soma Prime. And stats-wise, it does look a lot like the Soma Prime, especially on the primary fire. It's basically a side grade to the Soma Prime. But the secondary fire is a lot more fun than I initially thought, and it's definitely, it's what the Stradivar should have been. Honestly, I really like the Stradivar. I know the Stradivar is not a good weapon, because A, you can't build a Stradivar appropriately for both fire modes, and the stats overall are not good, but I really liked the functionality of the Stradivar being able to switch between full auto and semi-auto, so you can handle a variety of situations. Now, the Tenora does a very similar thing. Primary fire is a machine gun, secondary fire is a charged single shot that is turns it into a marksmanship rifle, basically. But the difference is that you can build so that both fire modes work really, really well. That's the huge difference. And let's be honest, the gun is very interesting looking, and it's very cool. I like the firing animations. I like the reload animations. We'll get to that. We'll get to that after the build. The build I'm going to show off to you guys today, though, is a little bit weird. It does include heavy caliber, which isn't necessarily the best choice if you're going to be using the secondary fire. Not even primarily, if you're going to be using the secondary fire at all, heavy caliber isn't necessarily the best choice as far as potential mods. Now, the rest of the build, I think, personally stands up pretty well. The only change that I would make is taking heavy caliber off and including a fire rate mod. Now, the reason I didn't include a fire rate mod on the initial build is because I wanted to have another elemental mod on there, A, and B, because the normal fire rate of the both primary and the charge rate on the secondary fire feels really good to me. That can be something that you guys can determine on your own, though. The builds I'm showing off here, Serration, Split Chamber, and Heavy Caliber, obviously for your damage. You've got Point Strike and Vital Sense for your crit builds. And then I have two 90% elemental mods and one 60% elemental damage, 60% status chance mod on there as well. Obviously, I couldn't fit another 90% elemental mod on here with the 5 Forma, so I just went with a 60-60. If you guys want to Forma this weapon a 6th time, that's completely up to you. And honestly, I think the Tenora is worth it. It's a absolutely phenomenal rifle. Now, like I said, heavy caliber can come off the weapon, honestly. You're going to be losing a good bit of damage, but actually hitting what you're shooting at is probably a little bit more ideal. I would recommend speed trigger, honestly. The secondary fire actually has innate punch through already, so shred's not as worth it. Now, obviously, shred would add punch through to the primary fire as well, so that can be up to you. I would stay away from Vile Acceleration. I don't think the 30% fire rate increase is worth the damage decrease, especially if you're not having heavy caliber on there. Now, if you guys also want to take one of the elemental mods off and have a fire rate mod and heavy caliber on there, that's also a possibility. But I noticed that when I was using heavy caliber, I was really having a hard time making shots accurately. Maybe not a hard time, but there were definitely points where I should have hit enemies and did not. And that's not even counting the times I did hit enemies, but not in the head or wherever I was aiming at because of the bullet spread. Now, really quick, I know I'm doing this completely out of order. The base stats for this weapon are, the primary fire is 23 physical damage. It deals that primarily in puncture. It's got a 25% crit chance, a 2.0 crit multiplier, and a 15% status chance. 80 rounds per magazine, 800 rounds total, with an 11.67 round per second fire rate. The charge attack, the secondary fire, is a little different. In-game, it says that the charge attacks also deal 23 damage, but the charge attack actually consumes 10 rounds, so you have to multiply it by 10. So the secondary fire deals 230 damage, again, primarily in puncture. It has a crit chance of 33%, so a little bit of a buff versus the primary fire. 3.0 crit multiplier, huge buff. It's an 11% status chance, which is obviously a slight decrease. But you're not building this weapon for status anyways. So it's a really solid secondary fire, quite honestly. It really is. And it feels pretty nice. The charge rate for the secondary fire is 0.8 seconds. So it doesn't, you don't necessarily need a fire rate mod on it, which is why I went with heavy caliber. But if you guys do put on speed trigger, it almost feels like the weapon is just semi-auto. It's blazing. It really is. And because you don't have heavy caliber on there, you don't have to worry about missing your shots. Or if you do miss your shots, that's on you and not necessarily on the mod setup. But this weapon is a lot of fun, and it is definitely a side grade to the Soma Prime, but it's a lot more than that because it does give you the functionality to actually handle any situation, whether that be up close or kind of at a distance. And it's two weapons in one, and it's a lot of fun, honestly. I may end up actually even adding more Forma to this weapon because I really enjoyed it. And the design is absolutely beautiful. I love the spinning barrel. I love the little reload animation. You just kind of gingerly push the magazine in. It's a lot of fun, and it's a great weapon. And it's definitely my highlight for update 20. But we'll get into that in the Octavia video. Until next time, folks, I've been your host of the most, as always, Francois878, signing off.